Sent to a remote island to bury the dead, a wisecracking young inmate soon finds his life in danger when the island is overrun by hordes of the undead, who had been killed by prison guards.
Are there different screenwriting rules for established screenwriters versus those that are new writers?
I think so. I think that there are unwritten rules. And it just, again, I think a lot of it basically boils down to like formatting, how your script looks, how you present your script. I mean, newbies can't do what established writers can do. I mentioned like the Robert Town thing, or, I feel a lot of screenwriters don't use slug lines at all. For me, that's a big thing. I think that that's insane, but I know that William Goldman, for instance, doesn't use slug lines. And of course he, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, right? But I feel like a William Goldman can get away with that. Jay Fingers cannot. So I'm, very careful in how I format and present my work so that one day, if I do decide that I want to break a rule here or there, I can.
Do you have an opinion about loglines?
Yes. I do not like log lines. I think log lines suck.
Why? What's wrong with them?
They're just so they're difficult. They're difficult. Everyone's just like, oh, if you can, if you're unable to distill, your story into one sentence, you can't tell me in one, maybe two sentences what your script is about, then already I know that your script is terrible. And I'm like, no, that's not true. I do understand the importance of log lines. It's just crafting them is just a pain. I just don't like doing it. My log line for Potter's Field, I worked on for weeks before I finally got one that I thought was decent. I can't even say that I was like truly pleased with the final log line, but at a certain point I was just like, okay, I've got to stop. This is where we're at, and I'm gonna see if this works. And it's got me some requests, so obviously I did something right with that.
So the log line for this film, which is Potter's
Field.
Field, okay. It took you how long to come up with it?
Several weeks.
Several weeks.
Several weeks. It took me several weeks to craft this one, but then that's also based on, just working on it previously, just coming up with log lines that just absolutely didn't work and just me giving up or, like whatever. So when I finally came back to it, because I knew that I wanted to start getting the script out there, I sat down with this version of the log line, and yeah, it took several weeks for me to craft it and get it into this shape where I'm finally getting some hits from it.
Oh, may we hear it?
Yeah, sure. Sent to a remote island to bury the dead, a wisecracking young inmate soon finds his life in danger when the island is overrun by hordes of the undead, who had been killed by prison guards.
Okay. So, and what parts did you struggle with? Like, where did you find you?
Well, first, like mentioning the protagonist. I didn't know how I wanted to describe him. There were some drafts where I used the character's name. His name is Amir Addison. But then I realized no one cares. That's not what they're looking for in a log line. The characters, they'll get to the character's name when they read the script. So in trying to describe, who he was succinctly, that was difficult for me. But then I just thought about the most striking parts of his personality. We already know that he's, in prison, he's an inmate, and he has this kind of caustic sense of humor. Like, he's always, just saying something smart and, not really insulting people, but kind of go in there. And so I thought wisecracking would be a good way to describe him. And I also wanted to kind of bring to mind like a young Eddie Murphy. We all kind of remember what Eddie Murphy was like in his early career, with like 48 Hours and Beverly Hills Cop and Trading Places. And I wanted my character to be reminiscent of that. So I thought that wisecracking was a great way to kind of describe him. Just the structure, just what should I mention first? Should I lead off with a wisecracking young inmate? And I did that for a while, but that didn't seem to work. So then I led off with, assigned to bury the dead on this island. Just it sets up the place, you know where the script is taking place and what's supposed to happen. And then after I set it up, we mentioned the protagonist, wisecracking young inmate. But I think the thing that really made the logline work was at the end, I added the little tidbit about the undead who had been murdered by prison guards. That was missing. And everyone, when I asked for feedback on the logline, they were just like, this is cool, I guess. But, but when I added that one part toward the end, response was, it was just like, oh, wow, now I get it. Now I want to read this. Now it hooks me. So that's the logline that I decided to go out with. And once I started querying, I started getting hits, started getting requests for the script.
So you were sending it out before you had this particular logline?
No, I wasn't sending it out. No. Just working on the logline so that I could send it out.
I see. Okay, so you weren't able to weigh whether this was an improved version, but you knew from the reaction that this tidbit at the end, where we know like why these people had died, and right. Okay.
Exactly.
Interesting. Wow. And did anyone say it was too long? It was too short of a logline?
No. I don't know how many words it is exactly, but I know I tried to keep it kind of within the recommended limit, like 35 words, 35 to 40 words, I think is what they say your logline, should be. So I tried to keep it within that.
Now for your books, the description, I know on Amazon when I looked at it, it's much longer,
Oh yeah.
It's like a paragraph or so. Is there something with books where there's the same type of rules for the logline?
No.
It's different, okay.
Yeah. They expect a much longer, in-depth kind of blurb, so that they can put on the back of books, on Amazon and Barnes & Noble, press releases, what have you. Yeah, there's loglines are not really a thing, at least, in my experience, in the publishing kind of like world.
Right, so with scripts, short logline and then a lot of white on the page, kind of like get to the point and don't waste the reader's attention. Sounds like, okay.